Welcome back to Speak More Fluently. You know how sometimes you hear someone speaking English and it just sounds so smooth and effortless, especially when they're asking questions?
Oh, yeah. Like they just flow.
Exactly. And today we are diving deep into one of the secrets behind that. It's something that goes way beyond just the words themselves.
It's like there's this hidden music to it.
You got it. The music of questions.
That's Intonation.
Yes,
Yeah.
intonation, how our voices rise and fall when we speak. Stick with us because we are going to unlock how native speakers use this musicality to sound so natural and engaging, and more importantly, how you can do it too. By the end of this deep dive, you will be asking questions with more confidence, clarity, and fluency, and just connecting with people on a whole other level.
Because it really is about connection. It's like the secret sauce to making your English sound really polished and natural.
Absolutely. So to kick things off, why don't we talk about why this whole intonation thing is so important in the first place? I mean, we know words matter, but what does this music add to the equation?
Well, think about it. Our voice does so much more than just convey the words. It's like the volume and timing and melody. It can tell you so much about the speaker's intent and their emotions.
Right, like if someone says, "Nice to meet you," but their voice is flat or sarcastic, there's something else going on there.
Exactly. And when it comes to questions, intonation plays a huge role in signaling what we're really asking. It can help us avoid misunderstandings, make our meaning crystal clear, and just make us sound more interesting to listen to.
Makes sense. It's like giving your voice more personality, right?
Definitely. And when we are talking about questions, intonation is key for signaling whether we are expecting a simple yes or no answer or if we're looking for more information.
Oh, I see. So the way our voice goes up or down can tell the listener what kind of answer we are looking for.
Precisely. It's subtle, but it makes a big difference.
So then how about we break down the different ways our voices move when we ask questions in English?
Sounds good. So generally speaking, we have two main patterns. One where our voice tends to rise at the end of the question and one where it falls.
Okay, rising and falling intonation. Let's start with rising. When do we typically use that?
You use rising intonation for yes-no questions. These are the questions that can be answered with a simple yes or no, like, are you coming?
Yeah.
Or, did you like the movie?
Got it. So if I ask, is it raining outside? My voice would naturally go up a bit at the end.
Exactly. That rising intonation is like you are leaving space for that yes or no answer, like an open door inviting a response.
It's like that little lilt at the end is saying, I'm waiting for you to tell me.
Yeah, exactly. And it often makes you sound more friendly and approachable, too.
Okay, so rising intonation for yes-no questions. Got it. Now, what about falling intonation? When does that come into play?
Falling intonation is generally used for what we call way questions. These are the questions that start with words like what, where, when, why, who, and how. And they usually require more than just a yes or no answer.
Okay, so like what time is it? Or where did you go? Those kinds of things.
Precisely. And with these questions, your voice typically starts a bit higher on that question word, like what or where, and then falls as you finish the question.
Interesting. So it's like that downward movement signals that I am expecting a more detailed explanation, not just a simple yes or no.
Exactly. It's like you are guiding the listener to give you more information.
So rising for yes-no questions and falling for those why questions makes sense. But you know what I've always wondered about?
What's that?
Those little questions we sometimes add to the end of sentences like, it's a beautiful day, isn't it? Or you're coming to the party, aren't you?
Yes. Tag questions.
Mm-hmm.
Those can be tricky, but they're super common in everyday conversation. And the way we use intonation with tag questions can actually change their meaning quite a bit.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So how does intonation affect those tag questions?
Well, think about it. If I say, it's cold today, isn't it? With my voice going down on that, isn't it? It sounds like I'm pretty sure it's cold, and I'm just looking for you to agree with me.
Yep. Right, like I'm just confirming something we both already know.
Exactly. But if I say the same sentence, it's cold today, isn't it? But my voice goes up at the end on that, isn't it? It sounds more like I'm genuinely asking for your opinion. Maybe I'm not even sure if it's cold myself, and I want you to tell me what you think.
Wow, that is so subtle, but it changes the whole vibe of the question.
It does, right? And getting that intonation right is key to using tag questions effectively and understanding what other people mean when they use them.
So to sum up, a falling intonation on a tag question is more like seeking confirmation, whereas a rising intonation is more like asking a genuine question.
You got it.
This is so cool. I'm starting to hear these intonation patterns everywhere now.
And it's amazing how much information they convey. Like you said, subtle, but powerful.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more thing. What about when we emphasize certain words in a question? Does intonation have anything to do with that?
Absolutely. We call this contrastive emphasis. And by emphasizing a particular word in a question, we can really highlight a specific part of it and even change the meaning entirely.
Oh, wow. Can you give me an example of that?
Sure. Imagine I ask, did you eat the last cookie? With the emphasis on you.
Okay, so I'm probably in trouble.
Possibly. But the point is that the emphasis implies, I suspect you were the one who ate it. Maybe there are other people around, and I'm trying to single you out.
Makes sense. What if you emphasized a different word?
Well, if I say, did you eat the last cookie, with the emphasis on eat, it might imply that I'm not sure if you actually ate it or maybe just took it. Maybe the cookie disappeared. I'm trying to figure out what happened to it.
Okay, so the emphasis really changes what I'm focusing on in the question.
It does.
Yeah.
And the way our voice rises and falls on that emphasized word can add even more nuance to the meaning. It's all about adding those subtle layers of communication.
I'm starting to realize that intonation is way more complex than I ever thought.
It's like a whole secret language within language.
It really is. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but I'm curious, what are some common mistakes people make with question intonation when they are learning English?
One very common one is overusing rising intonation, especially at the end of those why questions. Like, where are you going with that upward lift? It can make you sound unsure of yourself or like you are not really expecting an answer.
Oh, I've definitely heard that. It's almost like they're turning a why question into a yes-no question.
Exactly. So remember, for most why questions, that falling intonation is your friend.
Got it. Falling for information. What other pitfalls should we watch out for?
Another big one is speaking in a monotone, not varying your pitch enough. If your voice stays flat, it makes it hard for listeners to follow what you're saying, and it can make you sound a bit boring or unenthusiastic.
Right, like that robot voice we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to play with your pitch. Experiment with making those rises and falls a little bigger than you normally would when you're practicing. It might feel exaggerated at first, but it will help you find that sweet spot for natural-sounding intonation.
So practice with more range and then tone it down in real conversations.
Exactly.
Any other common intonation traps?
One more I see a lot is having a limited pitch range. People might be going up and down a little, but the difference between their highest and lowest notes is so small, it's hard to hear the intonation clearly. It's like their voice is stuck in a narrow band.
So what's the fix for that?
Vocal warm-ups can work wonders. Simple things like humming a note and sliding your pitch up and down, or even just pretending you are a siren can help you expand your comfortable range.
That makes sense. So it's not just about learning the patterns, it's also about training your voice to be more flexible and expressive.
Absolutely. It's like any skill. The more you practice, the better you get.
So speaking of practice, what are some concrete things our listeners can do to start improving their question intonation?
One of the best things you can do is listen and shadow. Find some audio or video of native English speakers asking questions. Podcast interviews, even short clips from TV shows or movies can work.
Got it. Find some good examples.
Right. Then listen carefully to how their voice goes up and down. Pay attention to the melody of their speech. Then pause the recording and immediately try to repeat the question, imitating their intonation as closely as you can. It's active listening.
Love that. So you are not just passively listening, you are actively trying to replicate what you hear.
Exactly. And it's amazing how quickly you can start to internalize those patterns.
Sounds effective. What else can we do?
Recording yourself is another fantastic way to practice. Ask different types of questions. Yes, no, what questions, tag questions, and then listen back to how you sound.
That can be painful sometimes, can't it?
It can be, but it's so valuable because you often don't hear those little intonation errors when you are in the moment of speaking. But when you listen back, you can really pinpoint areas where you can improve. And it's super helpful to compare your recording with a native speaker saying similar things, just to get a feel for those subtle differences.
Great idea. So listen to yourself and compare to the pros. Any other tips for practicing?
Oh yeah, intonation drills can be really helpful. For rising intonation, take a simple yes-no question like, is it ready? And repeat it several times each time, exaggerating that upward lift at the end.
And then for falling intonation.
You can take a why question like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
Do the same thing. Just keep repeating it and focusing on making that downward movement at the end really clear.
That sounds manageable. I can see myself doing that.
And for those tricky tag questions, try taking a statement like, it's a nice day, and then add, isn't it? Several times, alternating between rising and falling intonation on the tag. It will help you get a feel for how those subtle changes affect the meaning.
Those are all great tips. Now, as we start wrapping up, what's your advice for someone who wants to start using all of this in their everyday conversations? Where do they even begin?
Start small and be patient. Don't try to master everything at once. Just focus on getting comfortable with those basic rising and falling patterns for yes/no questions and what questions. Then as you get more confident, you can start incorporating tag questions and experimenting with emphasis.
So gradual progress.
Exactly. And remember, it takes time to change those ingrained speaking habits. Be kind to yourself, celebrate the small wins, and just keep practicing consistently. Every conversation you have is an opportunity to refine those skills.
That's such an encouraging way to think about it. Every conversation is a chance to get better.
Absolutely.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive. I think our listeners are going to walk away with a whole new understanding of the power of intonation.
I hope so. It really is one of the keys to unlocking fluency and making your spoken English sound more natural and engaging.
So for everyone tuning in to Speak More Fluently, we encourage you to start paying attention to those rising and falling tones, practice those tag questions, and just notice how native speakers use their voices when they ask questions. You might be surprised by how much you learn just from listening. And remember, every conversation is a chance to practice and refine your skills, so keep at it and keep that beautiful vocal melody flowing.
And if you have any questions of your own about intonation or other aspects of spoken English, we'd love to hear from you.
You can always reach out to us on social media or through our website. We'd love to explore those topics in future deep dives.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and speak more fluently.